Hello YouTubers and welcome to my review of History of the Daleks set number 15, Remembrance of the Daleks, and oh dear. We'll you know what, we'll start off with the one I've got the most to say about. The Renegade Dalek, which I've just noticed mine has a bit of silver bleed just there. But yeah, so before we get into anything, let me just show you an original release. Now this one has seen better days because it used to be my brother's, but yeah, let's put there's an original release next to that. Now one of these, you know, is not 100% accurate, but still close enough. The other one couldn't be further. I wonder which one is which. That's the more accurate one. Okay, just so we're clear. In more ways than one. So yeah, the main thing is the colour. This is almost Destiny type grey. This is a really light, you know, proper grey rather than a slight, you know, bluey type grey, which is what these ones are. Which, you know, this isn't still 100% accurate in that to the actual colour. But it is so much closer than that is. Like, it's bloody night and day differences. Why did Alduar change the colour so much? Now, it is a correct, you know, sort of matte finish compared to this more, you know, satiny type one. So I'll give them that. The same with the hemispheres and that, because on this release they were glossy, whereas the more matte ones are more accurate there. But, and then there's a slight issue here when it comes to the MIG section. So this uses the new Necros mould for the front section here, whereas this uses the older one. Now, the thing is though, Alduar could have got away with using, you know, this sculpt and not having a new 80 sculpt and still be accurate to a Renegade Dalek, because there are not one but two of the original Shortcraft Daleks that appear in Remembrance of the Daleks. It's a very blink and you'll miss it cameo, essentially, from them. It's when the Supreme Dalek first goes into, I don't know, what was it, a warehousey type place? I don't know. Yeah. But it's when two Daleks trundle in, and that, well, it's actually three Daleks that trundle in. But two of them are the Shortcraft ones, so yeah, he could have got away with that. But obviously, no, he was trying to go more for the actual 80s bodies and that, so yeah. But anyway, regardless of that, this one uses, obviously, the modified mesh, which was introduced with the Imperials initially, and then later on he did a one with the mesh. There we go. Will you focus? No? Why will you not focus? So you can see here, this is the modified one with the mesh, which, yes, it should have mesh. However, this still does not have the correct amount of slats. And also, the slats are too wide. The thing is, like, why didn't Alduar just make a new slack sculpt for this? I don't know why. Like, you know, he's made new eye stalks again for this, and obviously this wave has new sets of dome lights and that for the Daleks and that, so yeah, why was new, you know, slack sections off the table when it has been the case in that for previous releases and that as well? I don't know why, because yeah, it's just random. This should have really had a new slack sculpt, really, to be honest. But unfortunately, it doesn't. So yeah, that's a problem on that there. But obviously the main issue is the colour. Now, in terms of the eye, the new eye itself, well, there's mixed things about it. The shape and that and the amount of discs and that is all correct, but the ball at the end of the eye is just too big. It is unfortunately just too large. Yeah. Now, we went from this one where the eye was pretty much correct, except the very end piece was ever so slightly too small. But otherwise, everything was fine about that. But a lot of people complained, thinking it was incorrect, when it actually really wasn't. This eye here, this eye on this original one, would actually be perfect for the Supreme Dalek's eye, which has a very small ball at the end, but also, just like on here, a very wide iris, and that which neither of which of these have, which I'll get onto in a minute. The positive about the iris on this one is that it does have a slight sort of shiny, silvery sheen to it. So, yeah, it's more accurate in that regard. So, yeah, it has that going for it, compared to the others, that the actual iris itself is pretty good. And to be honest, the eye wouldn't bother me too much if it wasn't just, like, the colour just being completely off. Like, this isn't just, you know, slight. Like, for example, the bronze Dalek is off, but, you know, at least it doesn't look a million miles away and that from, you know, a bronze Dalek. It could still fit in. This does not. Like, when you compare the two of them, they just do not mix at all and that with each other. They just don't. So, yeah, it's just really problematic. And I just don't know why that was the case and that with this one. I really don't know why. Aldebar seems to think it's more accurate. He seems to certainly think that, but yeah, it's not. It's really not. And it's just like these things where, you know, you were so close. I mean, there was that Toys R Us one, which was basically this one again, but with the mesh section and that added to that, and with a revised eye stalk, but it was missing the black band and that, which, the slacks, sorry, were missing the black on them. So, yeah, it literally, why do they have to change so much with them when they were perfectly fine in that before? Like, why? Seriously, I really want to interview Aldebar and just find out what bloody decisions led to this. What led to this, honestly? But if we take these two out of the way, just for now, the Supreme Dalek, and, you know, credit where credit's due, it's so close. It's so close, this one. It is really, I mean, it's a masterpiece in that compared to, you know, inaccurate in terms of accuracy compared to the Renegade Dalek. So yeah, it's a correct sort of very glossy finish and that all the way, and that shiny silver and that round there. Now obviously the sculpt for this is still inaccurate, but to be honest, it doesn't really bother me too much, because really there was probably not the money there in order to do that. If this was a retail release, or maybe even a character online exclusive, maybe then, but for B&M exclusive, yeah, this was never going to have it. It does have the new dome lights and that on there and that as well, which, again, it really does not want to focus on them. Come on, focus. So, yeah, they're the correct orange with the little black around the section at the top there. I should mention on the desk. See, I'm even calling it Destiny myself. Bloody hell. On these ones here, they do have the correct little black painted around there, and that on the slightly more accurate dome lights. The gun is this time the correct straight gun, which wasn't the case on the original release. And it has obviously the new sort of wider circle and that around the MiG section, which was introduced in the Necros Daleks. And this one just has the standard slacks, which, yeah, again, this one really should have had a new slack sculpt as well, but this is close enough. This is close enough to what it was, basically. So, yeah, not really much else to say about this Dalek, apart from the ball at the end of the eye is too big on this one. Yeah, it's too big. And also, for some reason, the discs have been painted white, which I don't know why, because they were silver on the original release. Admittedly, it used an incorrect eye stalk. It had 5 rings for some reason. But, you know, they were still silver. Yet, on this one, they're painted white. Which I don't know why, because on the bloody... Like, one of the things correct about this Dalek is, like, oh, look, the discs around the eye are bloody silver. Yet on this one, they're white. Yeah. Now, there is a way to easily resolve this issue, and that is basically swap the eye stalks around. Though the only thing is with this eye, it is glossy, whereas the other one is a matte black. But there's a bigger glaring issue with the eye that, isn't to do with the sculpt. The iris is far too small, and I've seen quite a few people basically paint the entirety of this section here to basically make it correct, because the Supreme Dalek has a very large iris, this Supreme Dalek. And the thing is, there's even a lip there, on there, perfect for it to basically be fully painted like that. It's like it was designed to be that way, but it just wasn't done for whatever reason. Like, everything about this set, at each bloody turn, bloody baffles me to no end at every turn. So, yeah, I don't know what was the thinking process in that behind that. I've just noticed he's got a really bloody bent gun, this one. He's got a very, very rubbery gun. And that the plunger on these ones, is actually a bit better, actually. It's not the really rubbery type ones that were on the previous ones. These are actually better. Not so much the guns, but the plungers seem a lot straighter, and they don't seem to have as much of the sculpt damage as the others. Now, that could just be from what basically moulds and that they used. Maybe they used the different moulds and that with these ones, because they do have several moulds of them, so maybe half of them was allocated to the previous sex and the other half allocated to that, but still. Taking a quick look at the packaging, as I said previously, these boxes are thankfully made of a much sturdier cardboard than the previous ones. So, yeah. So they should hold up on that a lot better with these. And then taking a look on the back, all the information that all of us will never read, because probably most of it is inaccurate. So, yeah. And as ever, where is it? There it is. You have to cut along the bottom here and along the side with a knife, like basically gently going over it with a knife, in order to basically open these up and be able to put them back in the box. So, yeah. The Remembrance set, God, it really irks me, the Remembrance set. It really does. I really like the Supreme Dalek, and the Supreme Dalek is the thing that really sells it, because I really do like the Supreme Dalek in this set. It's so close, it's so close. I think I'd like it, and that's a lot better when I basically, what I'll probably do is get the eye off this one, spray it with some gloss clear coat, and then also paint it white, and that's there, swap them over to then fix up, and then I'd basically be happy with it from then. But yeah, the Destiny Dalek, like, calling it a letdown, God. Like, it seems to be with the simplest things Alduar seems to struggle the most with. Like, a Bronze Dalek release, dead easy, fucks it up. A bloody Renegade Dalek. You've got, literally, all you had to do is basically just essentially release the same figure again, but, make sure it has the slacks, correctly black, new, preferably a new mid-section slacks if you can, and that, make sure the iron neck's correct, and, Bob's your uncle, there you go. But no. No. Oh. It's weird, because like the Supreme Dalek, and the same with the Dalek Sec. The Dalek Sec has only a couple of very minor nitpicky issues. The Supreme Dalek, again, much more minor, apart from the sculpt itself being inaccurate. But would I still recommend this set for the Supreme Dalek? Yes. I'd say for the most part, generally, this is superior to its original release, particularly the gloss and that as well. Particularly is superior, and you got the more accurate circle on that there, and the more accurate dome lights. And while the eye colour itself is wrong, the shape is generally better and that compared to its original release in that regard. But it could have been so much better. Really could have been so much better. But there we go, people. There we go.